It started small. Just a flicker, something in the corner of my eye. Like a shape, a shadow that moved quickly across the wall. At first, I thought it was just the lights in my room. Or maybe I was just tired. But then it happened again. I'd be walking down the hallway and feel like something was right behind me. I'd turn around fast, but no one was there. Still I felt it. The weight of something watching. Always just a little too far to see clearly. Always just out of sight. At night, when I sat on my bed with the lamp on, the shadow on the wall didn't feel quite right. I raised my hand to wave just to test it. My shadow moved normally, but there was something weird about the shape next to it. A small twitch, like it didn't follow my arm at the same speed. Like it lagged for a second, then caught up. I blinked, stared at the wall. It looked fine now. I told myself it was nothing, just my imagination. But the next day I saw it again, this time at school. I was sitting in the library. The sun was coming through the window, and my shadow was on the floor beside me. That's when I noticed it was still moving even when I wasn't. Like it adjusted itself. I slowly turned my head and stared at it, not moving anything else. My shadow stopped moving too. I turned away. It moved again. I left early that day. At home, I checked every light in my room. I tested the shadows. I waved both arms. I even recorded myself. Nothing strange happened while I watched. But when I checked the video, something made me drop my phone. There were two shadows behind me. One was mine. The other looked just like mine, but it moved slower. And in the last second of the video, it didn't follow me. It moved the other way. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I told my friend Jess about it. I tried to laugh it off like a weird glitch. She didn't laugh. She said, "Hey, you have a weird shadow too?" I stopped walking. She said she saw mine once, last weekend, when we were walking together at the park. She didn't tell me because she thought she imagined it. But it wasn't just me anymore. Whatever this is, it's real. And I think it's not just following me. It's learning me. I thought maybe I could forget about it. Maybe if I just didn't look too closely, it would stop. But that night, I was home alone. My parents were out. My phone was on silent. The house was too quiet. The kind of quiet where even your own breathing sounds loud. I walked past the hallway mirror, and that's when I saw it again. My shadow. But something felt off. I took a step forward, and so did it. But when I turned my head slightly, its head didn't move. I froze. It moved 1 second later, like it had to copy me after thinking about it first. I backed away from the mirror. That's when the light in the hallway flickered. I didn't move, but the shadow did. Just a twitch. A tiny shift of the shoulder, like it was stretching. I whispered to myself, "This isn't real." And the shadow smiled. Only for a second, but it was there. I ran out of the hallway and into the living room, turning on every single light. I stood there, waiting, heart racing, ears wide open. Nothing, until I turned off the TV. In the black screen's reflection, I saw it behind me, closer than before. No face, just my shape, but breathing like it was real. I spun around. No one there. My shadow was normal again. But I knew it only showed up when I was alone. And I was very, very alone. I thought maybe I was imagining it. Maybe the fear was making things worse. So I tried to be smart about it. I set up my phone camera in my room, right across from the wall where the shadow always appeared. I turned on the light, sat on the edge of my bed, stayed perfectly still. I waited. At first, nothing. Just me and my shadow on the wall. I slowly raised my right arm. My shadow did the same. Then I dropped it fast. So did the shadow. Normal. Then I leaned slightly to the left. My shadow followed. But then something happened. I held still. No breathing. No moving. And my shadow, kept swaying. It was barely visible, like it was testing what it could get away with. I stood up suddenly. It flinched. That's when I realized it wasn't copying me. It was watching me and reacting. I lunged toward the wall as if to catch it, but the shadow moved first. It shot across the wall, fast, like smoke in the wind, then vanished behind the curtain. I ripped the curtain open. Nothing there. Just the window. Dark glass. My own pale reflection. Breathing heavy. I looked at the video. In the recording, the moment I stood up, the shadow didn't run across the wall. It stepped forward, out of me, just for a second, and then back in. I didn't sleep at all that night, because if it can move when I can't, what happens when it wants to move, and I can't stop it? I didn't tell anyone right away, not even Jess. I thought if I ignored it, it would go away. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't. So when it showed up at school, during daylight, I stopped pretending. It was in the science lab. The sun was shining through the tall windows. I was standing by the counter, mixing something for our project. The floor was tiled, the kind that reflects shadows very clearly. That's when I noticed it again. My shadow. Only it wasn't exactly mine. It was a few inches behind where it should have been. Like it was lagging. And worse, its hand was open when mine was closed into a fist. I didn't say anything. I just stepped back. Jess was sitting nearby. She looked up, and then she stared at the floor. Why is your shadow doing that?" she whispered. I looked at her quickly. She saw it. It wasn't just me anymore. I said nothing, just backed up until my shadow faded into the room's dimmer corner. Jess followed me out into the hallway, pale. "I thought you were messing with me last week," she said. "But that was real. It didn't match you. At all." I told her everything. About the mirror, the camera, the way it moved before I did. She didn't laugh. She didn't roll her eyes. She just said, "Tyler saw something too." Tyler, another friend in our group. He told Jess a few days ago that during lunch, he saw my shadow standing behind me after I had already walked away. He thought maybe it was someone else. But now, he's not so sure. I checked my phone when I got home. There was a new photo in my camera roll. I didn't take it. It was a picture of me, sleeping, taken from the hallway. In the background, near the bedroom wall, a long, stretched shadow on the ceiling. No one else was home. I showed it to Jess. She said what I was already thinking. "It's not just your shadow anymore." I used to think shadows were harmless. They follow light, follow rules. They copy what we do, nothing more. But now I know that's not true. My shadow still looks like me, same height, same shape, but it doesn't act like me anymore. It hasn't for days. The first time I really noticed was in the bathroom. I stood at the sink, brushing my teeth. Normal, right? Until I dropped the toothbrush. I bent down to pick it up, and my shadow didn't. It stayed upright. It stared at the mirror. I froze. My back was to the wall. The light above me was steady. No flicker. No tricks. I slowly stood back up, and the shadow shifted, late, like it had just remembered it was supposed to follow. That's when I started testing it. I held my hand up. Then I dropped my arm fast. The shadow kept its arm in the air. 2 full seconds. Then it dropped it slowly. Not like a copy, like a choice. I backed out of the bathroom, heart racing. Later that night, Jess and I were on a video call. I told her what I saw. She believed me immediately. She said, "It's not just yours anymore." "What do you mean?" I asked. She turned her phone around. In the reflection of her bedroom window behind her, her shadow was walking, but she was sitting still. "I didn't want to scare you," she whispered, "but I think mine copied yours." It was spreading. Our shadows looked like us, but they weren't us. They had our shape, but they didn't follow our rules anymore. And I had this sick feeling that they weren't done changing. They were learning, watching, and waiting. It started small. A framed photo fell off my shelf. That happens, right? Maybe it was loose. Maybe the shelf shook. But the timing was wrong. I was sitting at my desk, staring at my shadow on the wall. It was standing still, even though I was slowly rocking in my chair. I stopped moving. The shadow didn't. It tilted its head, just a little, and then the photo on my shelf fell. Glass shattered. I jumped. There was no wind, no vibration, no movement from me, just that quiet, slow tilt of a head. Later that night, I tested it again. I placed a pencil on my desk. I sat perfectly still. Lights on. Camera rolling. I stared at the wall. My shadow was still. Then I whispered, "What do you want?" The pencil rolled off the desk. Like something flicked it. My hands were in my lap. I checked the recording. There was no movement. Except one thing. Right before the pencil dropped, my shadow lifted its hand. And then it placed it back down. I replayed that moment 5 times. Same thing, every time. It touched something. And the real world changed. I didn't sleep again. Not even a little. The next morning, Jess called me in a panic. Her desk drawer, locked, had been ripped open. Inside was the small paper she wrote on last week. The one that said, "I think the shadows are alive." It was torn in half. Not by her. And her bedroom door? Clawed from the inside. She said she didn't do it. I believe her. Because last night, I heard something too. It wasn't a creak. It wasn't a knock. It was a whisper. Not in my ears. In the walls. The shadow isn't just watching anymore. It's reaching out. And now it can touch. I tried to act normal the next day. Went to class. Talked to Jess. Smiled when I had to. But I felt it. The weight. The pressure. Like something was behind me all day, breathing slow and heavy on my neck. I stayed out late on purpose. I didn't want to go home. Didn't want to be in the dark. Didn't want to see that shadow waiting again. But eventually I had to go back. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I left every light on. I closed the curtains. I locked my bedroom door. Then I set up my phone on the dresser, hit record, and laid in bed facing the wall. I told myself I wouldn't sleep, that I'd stay awake just in case. But I did sleep. I woke up around 3 a.m. The lights were off. All of them. My lamp, my ceiling light, everything. I sat up fast, heart racing. Reached for my phone. It was still recording. I hit stop. Opened the video. The room was still lit in the beginning. You could see me shifting in bed, eyes blinking, then slowly closing. Then about an hour in, the lamp clicked off by itself. No hand touched it. But the moment it turned off, you could see movement in the dark. A shadow on the far wall. Not mine. Standing still. But breathing. You could actually hear it. Soft, low, steady. And then, it took a step closer. Then another. Until it was at the side of my bed. Just standing there. Watching me. For 20 full minutes. Not moving. Not blinking. Then, right before the video ends, it leaned forward. Like it was checking if I was really asleep. I stopped watching. Deleted the video. But I know what I saw. It watches me while I sleep. And now, it's standing closer every night. I texted Jess in the morning. No reply. That wasn't like her. I sent another one after school. Then called. Straight to voicemail. At first, I told myself maybe her phone died. Or maybe she was busy. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The last time we talked, she sounded scared. Said her lights were flickering at night. Said her shadow started showing up in mirrors even when she wasn't near them. She joked about staying with her aunt for a few days. But now, she was completely silent. That night, I couldn't sit still. I paced my room, phone in hand, checking the same message thread every few minutes. Still no answer. I finally went to sleep around 2 a.m., fully dressed, lights on. I woke up to the sound of a phone ringing, but it wasn't mine. It was faint, like it was coming from outside my window. I pulled back the curtain, and that's when I saw it. A phone. Jess's phone. Lying in the middle of my backyard. The screen was glowing. How did it get there? I ran downstairs. Threw open the back door. Stepped out into the cold grass. No one was there. No footprints. Just the phone. When I picked it up, the screen lit up. One notification. A voice message. It had been sent at 3:11 a.m. I hesitated, then hit play. It was Jess. Whispering. Out of breath. "I don't think it's mine anymore," she said. "It's not my shadow. It's wearing me like clothes. If you see me, if you think it's me, it's not." The message cut off. I backed up slowly. My bedroom light, still on, flickered once. Then twice. Then off. And in the window reflection, behind me, I saw a figure. Same size as Jess. Standing completely still. But her shadow was moving. The phone I found in the backyard, it was definitely Jess's. Her lock screen had a picture of us from last summer. Same scratches on the case. Same tiny chip on the corner. But what scared me the most was that my phone started getting texts from her number again. At 4:02 a.m. Just 3 words. "Don't ignore me." I didn't reply. Another message came 5 minutes later. "You said you'd help me." The tone wasn't like Jess. She never texted like that. She used emojis. Always wrote when things got awkward. This was cold. Almost robotic. I didn't respond. Then my phone buzzed again. A picture. It was my house. Taken from across the street. Lights off. Shadows in the window. And one of them looked like her. But something was wrong with it. Its neck was tilted too far to the side. Its arms hung stiff and straight. And even though it was blurry, its shadow was facing the opposite direction. Like it had a mind of its own. I finally texted back. "Who is this?" "Jess." Then another. "Come outside." I looked at the window. The curtains were still closed. But I could see 2 shoes. Just barely visible under the fabric. Waiting. Motionless. I turned off my phone. Backed away from the window. Grabbed the flashlight from my drawer and held my breath. The light flickered. And in the faint glow, my own shadow leaned forward, even though I was frozen still. It wasn't just Jess. It was happening to me. I always thought shadows needed light. That's the rule, right? No light, no shadow. But that rule doesn't matter anymore. I woke up to darkness. Complete, choking blackness. The power had gone out sometime in the night. I could hear the low hum of nothing. No fridge buzz, no clock ticking. Just silence. But the room didn't feel empty. It felt full. Heavy. Like the air was thicker. I stayed in bed, afraid to move. I didn't want to bump into something. Then I heard it. A soft scuffle on the floor, like bare feet dragging across carpet. I whispered, "Jess?" No answer. Then a breath. Not mine. Low and slow. Right beside me. I reached for my phone. I hadn't turned it off. That's when I understood. They didn't need light anymore. They'd learned to live in the dark. Something cold brushed against my ankle. I jumped, rolled out of bed, and scrambled for the flashlight in my drawer. Flicked it on. Nothing there. But my breath was clouding in front of my face. It was freezing. My room was never that cold. I turned toward the mirror on my closet door. Shined the light on it. I was staring back. And behind me? Another me. Not moving. Not blinking. Just standing. Its face was darker. Blurred. Its eyes weren't eyes. They were black voids, absorbing the light. I turned around. No one there. Looked back at the mirror. Still there. It didn't need light to move anymore. It had moved beyond shadows. I backed away, flashlight shaking. The batteries were draining fast. The beam flickered. One final burst of light. The mirror was empty. Not even my reflection anymore. Just black glass. And then a whisper right beside my ear. "You belong here now." I thought I was alone in this. That maybe I'd gone crazy. But now, it's not just me. It's spreading. It started with Ben, my coworker. We don't talk much, but he pulled me aside yesterday. Said, "Hey, weird question. Do you ever feel like something's walking behind you, but when you turn around, there's no one there?" My stomach dropped. I asked, "Have you seen your shadow do anything strange?" He looked surprised, then scared. He nodded. I caught it in the office mirror. It smiled. I wasn't smiling. I didn't know what to say. Then Rachel texted me. She's an old friend. We haven't talked in months. Out of nowhere, she wrote, "Did you give it to me?" I replied, "What do you mean?" She sent a video. It was her bedroom. Dim light. Soft shadows. She stepped into frame and waved. Her shadow didn't move. It just stood there. Then it took a step toward her. But she didn't move. She screamed, dropped the phone, and the video ended. That's when I knew. Whatever this thing is, it's spreading to people I know. I don't know how. Maybe from seeing it. Maybe from hearing about it. Maybe just from being near me. I'm like a carrier. And now I can't stop it. Every time someone gets close, it finds them too. Ben called in sick today. Rachel won't respond. And me? I've stopped checking the mirrors. I sleep with the lights off now, not because I'm brave, but because they come anyway. Light or dark. Eyes open or closed. They're here. And they're multiplying. I couldn't take it anymore. Everywhere I went, I saw it. Not directly, never directly, but always out of the corner of my eye. Following. Copying. Smiling when I didn't. Moving when I was still. So I did something stupid. I thought maybe if I got rid of the shadow, I could end this. I remembered reading that shadows are just shapes. Darkness caused by blocking light. But this thing wasn't a shadow anymore. It was something pretending to be one. So I set up a bright floodlight in my garage, one of those huge construction ones. I waited until nightfall, stood in the center, and watched my shadow stretch across the concrete floor. It looked normal at first, but then it blinked and smiled. I poured gasoline around the edges of the room, keeping my body away from the puddle. Then I lit a match. I didn't toss it near myself, I swear I didn't, but the flame jumped. The gas caught instantly. The fire shot up the walls, fast and angry. And my shadow? It didn't run. It laughed. A deep, crackling sound that echoed inside my head. The fire alarm started blaring. Smoke filled the air. I stumbled out the back door, coughing, heart racing. By the time the fire trucks came, the garage was black and ruined. Everything inside was gone. Except one thing. In the middle of the burnt floor was a perfect black outline. Not scorched, not touched, just standing there, like a hole in the world. I stared at it. It stared back. The fire didn't stop it. It watched me try. And now it's angry. I used to think it only moved, that it just copied, that it needed me to act first. But that changed last night. It spoke. In my voice. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it. My bathroom has a wide mirror, and I try not to look at it too long anymore. But I glanced up and saw me standing still. But my reflection moved its mouth and said, "You're tired, aren't you?" I froze. The words were mine. The tone. The sound. But I hadn't said anything. I spit out the toothpaste, turned around, nothing behind me. Looked back at the mirror, still there. My reflection. But it wasn't synced anymore. It was delayed, like it was thinking, choosing what to say next. Then it smiled and whispered, "They believe I'm you now." I slammed the mirror cabinet shut, backed out of the room, heart racing. Later that night, I got a call from my mom. She sounded confused. "Hey, honey, why did you hang up on me just now?" "I didn't call you," I told her. She paused. "But we just talked." "No, that wasn't me." Her voice shook. "You said the weirdest thing. You said, 'This isn't your son anymore.' And then you laughed." I nearly dropped the phone. "I didn't say that." "It did. It was pretending to be me. Not just in mirrors now. Not just in shadows. It was practicing. Speaking in my voice. Calling people I know. Becoming me. And the scariest part? They can't tell the difference. I didn't go to work today. I couldn't. After what happened in the mirror, after what it said to my mom, I needed time to think, to breathe, to feel real again. But at 10:42 a.m., I got a message from my coworker, Brian. "Hey, everything okay? You left your lunch in the break room." I stared at my phone. I didn't leave the house. I texted back, "I'm not there." Brian replied almost right away, "Dude, I talked to you like an hour ago. You were acting weird. Didn't even say hi." I called him. He answered, confused. "Wait, you're not messing with me?" "No," I said. "What did you see?" He was quiet. Then, you came in. Same clothes as yesterday. You look pale. Didn't speak. You just walked in, sat at your desk, stared at your monitor for like 20 minutes, and then left. My voice shook. "Did you see anything wrong with my face?" Brian hesitated. "Now that you mention it, yeah. You weren't blinking. At all." I hung up. I didn't know whether to scream or throw up. It had gone to my job. Used my face. My clothes. My body. It fooled everyone. I ran to the mirror. Stared at myself. And for the first time, I didn't recognize the person looking back. He looked like me, but there was something missing. That small light in the eyes. That flicker of life. And as I stood there, trying to breathe, my reflection lifted its hand, before I did, and waved, like it was saying goodbye. I don't know who I am anymore. I woke up this morning on the floor, not in my bed. The lights were all on. My phone was in my hand. Open. Recording. There were 5 hours of footage. All of it me, but not me. Walking around the apartment. Staring at the walls. Standing completely still for full minutes. Then, smiling at the camera. That's not something I do. Not like that. That smile didn't have warmth. It looked copied. Like it had studied me and was trying too hard to be human. I checked the mirrors. My reflection blinked a second too late again. Not once, but every time. And the weirdest part? I don't feel tired anymore. I haven't eaten in 2 days, but I'm not hungry. My voice sounds wrong in my own ears. Like an echo that's lagging. And today, Brian texted again. "Hey, you were back at the office. Seemed like your old self. Glad you're feeling better." I wasn't there. But someone who looked and acted like me was. Better than me even. More normal. More consistent. More real. I'm starting to wonder. What if it didn't just replace me? What if I'm the copy now? What if I'm the shadow? I look at my hands. My skin. My face. It all feels like mine. But maybe that's what it wants me to think. Because if the world believes I'm still me, then maybe the real me is already gone. And I'm just the one that was left behind. The reflection. The echo. The shadow.